is just a quick long multiplication recap. Now this is just to go over column addition. It kind of shows you step by step, column multiplication, and this is the most standard method. The reason I like to just talk about it is because I think it belays quite nicely, or it shows the understanding. So if we go through, if I was to write this out, well, I've set it up in this style here. So 4, 2, 3 over or times by 2, 1, 1. With multiplication, it doesn't matter the order. You can have whichever one on the top or the bottom you like. You'll see that changes for division. So I actually tend to put the larger number on top, but that's entirely up to you. We go through one by one, so you can see it's highlighted here, and we multiply each number in turn by all the numbers above it. So we do 1 times 3, which is 3, 1 times 20, which is 20, and 1 times 400, which is 400. Now notice, I didn't say 1 times 3, 1 times 2, 1 times 4. I said 1 times 3, 1 times 20, 1 times 400. And that makes sense because, of course, 1 times 20 is 20, which is why I put that 2 in the tens column, because it's really important to always be thinking about this. But we've got here the hundreds column, the tens column, and the units column. So when I did 1 times 400, I wrote 4 in the hundreds column. Now that's obvious to start with, but let's think now on the next step, when I'm multiplying by this one here, why we suddenly move over one space, because I think understanding why we move over one space will help you to remember to do it. And another method I've seen is people just automatically put in a 0. But again, I think it's quite important we understand why we do that. So let me show you. So this 1, it's not really a 1, is it? It's in the tens column. So that 1 is actually a 10. So now, if I was to do 10 times 3, I get 30. And that's where I'm writing this 3, because that's not a 3, it's a 30, which is why it's going in the tens column. And that is the clue as to why it moves over one space. So again, you can just fill in a 0, but I think understanding that you're actually doing the sum 10 times 3, and 10 times 3 gives you 30, is really valuable. And there is your answer. So if we carry on, we now do 10 times 20, and that actually gives me 200. So that's why I'm writing the 200 here in the 200s column, in the hundreds column. And finally, I'm doing 10 times 10 times 400, spoilers, which gives 4,000, which is why I've written the 4 in the 4,000s column. So that's why you get this sort of magic effect of them moving over one each time, because you're actually timesing by a large number, and that number is 10 times larger, so it shifts everything 1 unit of 10 to the side, moving it up a column. And so again, the pattern continues. So you can see here we shifted over 1, and again, I know lots of people like to have the 0, and actually I do too. I like to include the 0 just because it shows very nicely how we add them up. In this one, because we're now doing this 2, remember that is not a 2, what is it? It's a 200. If I was to write it out as 200, and that's actually another way of remembering the fact that, look, there's 2 zeros in the 200, so if I wanted to, I could add 2 zeros, and it will always be the same. And then it's that 200 times 3, and 200 times 3 gives 600, which is why we're writing a 6 in the hundreds column. And then, of course, 6, we have then 200 times 20, which is 4,000, and then we have 200 times 400, which is 80,000, which is why we get the number we have, which is 84,600. And now finally we've got all our numbers, we can add them up. And again, in this one here, 3 plus 0 plus 0, because again, I would recommend drawing the zeros out when you do this, but 3 plus 0 plus 0 is 3, 2 plus 3 is 5, 4 plus 2 plus 6 is 12, carry the 1, 4 plus 4 plus the 1 that we carried across is 9, and then 8. So 89,253 is the final answer. But I think just bearing in mind and actually saying to yourself, when I'm doing the sum, 10 times 3 is 30, so I put it in the 30 column, the tens column, because it's 3 lots of 10, will just mean you're more likely, or you're much less likely to forget. And so I really like that, and that's how I would go about doing this style of long multiplication. I'm going to give you a bit of time to just look through these questions. Again, these are currently set out for the long multiplication column method. But again, if you're going to write these in your book, these aren't from any book, they just need a spare bit of paper, you're more than welcome to try the lattice method and obviously check your answers, because the answers will be the same if you've done it correctly from whatever method you've used. So guys, I suggest pause the video here, have a go. Anyway, off you go. Pause the video here and come back when you're ready for some answers. Okay guys, so here are the answers. And the working out for the column multiplication, again, I haven't done the working out here for the other one just because it's the slightly less common, I suppose. Most people in schools, I find, still are using this method, the column multiplication, although more and more are using the lattice method because it is a very good method. So mark your answers and see how you did. Again, I recommend with maths, it is a skill, and skills you improve by practice. It's not something that you just necessarily know, but if you do 100 multiplication questions, by the end, you'll be really, really good at it. And you'll know what method is. And again, if you take time to really think through tens times 100 equals what, it does become a lot easier, a lot clearer. Right, that was a little recap, revision.